Welcome to MeMe's Kitchen. Well, y'all, February is fast moving out, and you know what that means. That means spring is not very far away. And I looked outside today, and my yellow jasmine is beginning to bloom. So that's another sign that spring is certainly on its way. So I love to see that when it happens. Today we are going to be making Divinity, and it is in the cookbook. It is on page 86. Now y'all, this is an old recipe. And I will tell you this, in almost every southern town that you go, there's one woman that makes Divinity. And usually everybody in town knows who it is. And I know even heard Paula Dean refer to her mother as the Queen of Divinity for Savannah, Georgia. And so you kind of get a reputation when you learn how to make this. It's just a tiny bit difficult, but not impossible. So it just takes just a little practice, and you will get it. Now I want to tell y'all a cute story. One of my sisters was visiting me this weekend, and so we were just sitting around laughing and talking about old times. And my husband used to be the coach at the high school, and we were talking about basketball because their team is involved in the playoffs for the state, you know. And I said, oh my goodness, I said, I remember one night when we were playing our arch rivals, and every time somebody got hurt on the court, my husband just sat in his chair. He didn't get up. And I'm thinking, what in the world is going on? He would send one of the managers out there or whatever to check on him. And so came halftime, everybody just gets up, his whole team, and they just walk right behind Coach Leary, real close. They walk out to the dressing room. Well, in a minute, one of the little players comes. He says, Miss Diane, come here. And I said, okay. So I get my pocketbook and I go down. I said, what? He said, Coach Leary needs you. And I said, okay. So we go in the dressing room. Y'all, his pants had split up the back. Thank goodness I always carried a little sewing kit in my pocketbook. And y'all, he had to talk to the basketball players in his underwear, and I sat there sewing up his pants. So we laughed about that till we just about cried. So that was a lot of fun. Now, what I want to tell you, there are a couple of things that you need to do when you're making Divinity. I have already toasted my pecans, and the way that I do that, I just stick them in a pie plate, just one of those tinfoil pie plates. I set my oven on 300. I put the pecans in there, and I set my timer on 10 minutes. And don't cook them longer than that because they'll surely burn, especially at that temperature. So as soon as that timer goes off, then I take those pecans out, and I do it ahead of time so they can cool some, so that when we get ready to add them to the mixture, they are nice and cool. So let's get started. All right, the first thing that we're going to do here, this is 2 egg whites. And I just went ahead and separated them. I figured you know how to separate an egg. So we're going to beat these egg whites here until they come to a peak. And we'll be right back. Okay, y'all. Now see how they stand at a peak? See that right there? That little peak? And you know they are ready. All right, now I will tell you one little secret to making this. You do need to use a glass bowl, because if you try to use a metal bowl, it invariably has residue that sticks to it, and it just will not do. I know my sister-in-law was trying to make it, and they were using their mixer bowl, and I said, you really have to use a glass bowl. And it works better if you just use your hand electric mixer. Okay, the first thing that we're going to put in here is 3 cups of sugar. Okay, put my scoop back in. Now y'all, I'm disappointed it doesn't call for butter, but we'll make it. All right, that was 3 cups of sugar. Then we're going to put a 1/2 cup of water, just tap water, in there, and a 1/2 cup of corn syrup. And I just use the generic brand. You can use K-Row, you can use any brand. Just be sure it's just plain old corn syrup. And at first I thought light meant it was low calorie, but I don't think there's a low calorie syrup. So anyway, it's just your white syrup. All right, we can put that in there. And mix this together. Well, I don't think we need the fan on. Okay. All right. All right, now I'm going to mix this good before I cut the eye on, or the burner, whatever you want to call it. Some people laugh because we call it the eye of the stove, but that's what I've called it all my life, y'all. So I'm putting this on 7. I don't want to bring it to a real quick boil because sometimes it'll be kind of grainy. So we're going to let this come to a boil and then we'll show you what the next step is. So, okay, y'all. Now, every stove is different, so you're going to have to kind of go on what your stove does. That's been about 8 or 9 minutes since we were with you. So now see how this is boiling. So we're going to let it just boil here for a while. I'll just stir it occasionally, and you will notice how, see, a while ago it was, you know, thick because we didn't have very much liquid in there compared to 3 cups of sugar. And so, but now see, it's nice and thin. So we're just gonna let it cook away here. And what we're going to do is the first stage is the soft ball stage. Now, I'll show you how to determine that when we get to that. So we're just gonna let this cook here probably 3 or 4 minutes, but we'll tell you when we come back exactly how long we were gone, and we'll see what it looks like. So we'll be back here in just a minute and show you what the next phase is. Okay, y'all. Now look, now you see how clear this has gotten, and it's still boiling. And so we'll let that continue, and what we're going to do, we're going to check here. Now it's going to be hard for you to see in this water exactly how it is. So what we're trying to do is to get this to a soft ball stage. All right, you see that? It's all sticking together. And so that would make a little ball. So that is soft ball. So what we're going to do now is we are going to pour half of this over our egg whites. And what you do is you start your mixer first, because if you pour this hot onto those egg whites, you'll have scrambled egg whites. So we're going to turn this on and start pouring our mixture right into the beater. You see that where it goes right in there? Right in there. So you pour about half of your mixture. So we're just guessing. That's about half. Put that back on the stove. And then what I do is I just continue feeding this particular part of it. So I will beat this, and then we'll come back and see when that gets to the hard crack stage. And let's see where we are. This is supposed to be the hard crack stage. All right, now you see that? It's not quite there because see, it's still just a little bit soft. And so we want it so that it would actually crack. So we're gonna leave that for a minute, and then let's look at it here falling off the spoon. Now you see how thick that is? Now I'm going to show you one thing. Have you ever heard called spinning a thread? Well, see how that's spinning a thread? You see that? That's what is called spinning a thread. So we're very close to the hard crack stage. And you just leave it on that 7. So let's check here. It doesn't take but just, just a minute or so to go from one stage to the next. Okay. Almost there. It's still just a tiny bit soft. So we'll set that aside and we'll be right back. Okay. We've just been going for 1 minute. Okay, I can tell right now that is the hard crack stage. All right, see that? It will actually crack in your hand. So that is the hard crack stage. So we go cut that off. We're going to start our mixer, and then we are going to pour this into our first mixture. Now, y'all, some people use a candy thermometer, but I never have. I just use the water test. And let it all come out of there. Okay, I'm going to continue to beat this, and Caroline and I will watch the timer over here, and I will show you kind of how you can tell when it's starting to get done, mixing up. So we'll be back in just a minute. Okay, y'all, I put my vanilla in here while we were gone, and I will show you that. It's been 3 minutes since and I want to show you kind of the consistency. Now, what we're looking for is for this mixture to stay up on the bowl and not immediately go down. In other words, stay up in a mound, and then we will know that it's getting ready to dip up. So I'll show you, see how that looks now? See, when you do it up like that, see it immediately goes back down. It doesn't stay up on the side of the bowl. So I'll show you in a minute. We'll keep beating this, and you can't actually time it. You've got to go on looking at it, but you'll be able to figure it out. So we'll be back in just about 3 more minutes. Now I want to show you how we know it's beginning to get done, because we will push this up. Now see see how it stays up there? See, it stays up on the side. So you know that is just about getting done. And then too, they say until it loses its gloss. Well, it never fully loses its gloss. I'm going to tell you that much now. But you can tell that is definitely getting right to the stage where we will add the pecans to it, the toasted pecans. Because see, you can tell, see how it stays in the place. See that? See it staying up there. See how that just kind of holds its own. So what we're going to do, we're going to put our pecans in there, and I'll just leave them whole, and we just mix. This you have to do by hand. Y'all, if you learn how to make this, now you can be the star of every party. All right, my hands are clean. We're going to put this out. Now, I will tell you, some people don't put their pecans in it. What they do is they put it out like this, and then put the pecan half right on top. And that's good too. But we like a little bit more pecans in ours, so I put mine in it, and then I'll put it out. So we'll dip all this out and we'll be right back. Okay, now y'all, that is really a delicacy, I guess you would say. Now some people cannot make this when it's raining because there's something about the moisture in the air. So if you're going to try to make it, don't do it on a rainy day because that may affect your outcome. But once you learn how to make it, you can make it regardless of what the weather is. I will tell you that. So where I work, I told y'all I still work 3 days a week. It's in a retirement community. Well, every time we have any party, anything for our residents, I make Divinity for them because this is something that all of them remember that somebody in their town made. And so it's just one of the things. Of course, they don't cook much anymore. So I always make Divinity for them because it brings back a lot of memories. So it's the kind of thing, if you learn how to make it, it's just wonderful. Now Carolina and I were laughing because she's had 2 or 3 lessons. She hadn't conquered it quite yet, but she's a young cook, and she said that one time she tried to make it and that her mixer actually started smoking. Well, I can believe that because that's happened to me too. And so just make sure you have just a good sturdy mixer. But as you can see, it really is not that difficult. So the main thing is to test it in that water and be sure that each stage is where it needs to be. We're going to have us some Divinity here, and enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your week, and everybody, shine for Jesus.